These images of targeted missiles and artillery fire are not from the Gaza Strip. This is the other border of Israel, up in the north, the border the country shares with Lebanon. A border that is fast emerging as a second front in Israel's war against Hamas. 2 hours from Tel Aviv, past the Sea of Galilee and the Golan Heights, and past avocado and pomegranate farms, and we are standing just a couple of miles from Lebanon. It's quiet here for now, but this seeming serenity is really an illusion. The Hezbollah, an Iran-backed Islamist group based out of Lebanon, has both a political and a military wing. It is now emerging as the X factor in the Israel war on Gaza and against Hamas, with one common factor tying the Hamas and the Hezbollah together, and that is the support of Tehran. At the Lebanon border, busloads like this one of Israeli soldiers are arriving. The military fortification of this border too has begun. So is Israel headed for a two-front war? We are now at the northern border of Israel, just a couple of kilometers away from Lebanon. This is a border that has been heating up, leading to a military challenge for Israel, that of a two-front conflict. While the world's attention has been on the southern part of the country near the Gaza Strip, now there is the challenge of the Hezbollah that has been trying to engage Israeli military forces by firing anti-tank missiles into this area. In fact, Israel has taken the decision to clear people within 5 kilometers radius of the border. If you see behind me, there are busloads now of soldiers, and the military fortification is building up in this part as well at the north, just next to Lebanon. And here we're going to talk to one such soldier. Thank you very much for talking to us. What is the situation here? It's been quite tense the last few days.
See, the situation in here next to the border, it's some terrorists from the Hezbollah, the terrorist organization. They tried to kill us, but just in the last night, we killed some terrorists right here next to the border.
Did this happen last night?
Yeah, this last night. They tried to shoot us, but we are, we are stronger from them.
What kind of rockets are they sending in? One reads that the Hezbollah is firing anti-tank missiles.
Yeah, there is some kinds of rockets, and they all the time try some kinds to kill us, and they try from the air, from the but this last night we killed some of them.
Yeah.
And we want to do that again in this night, and tomorrow, and we're gonna win. It's okay.
So this front, this part of the country too, the north part with adjoining Lebanon, has also become like a hot border.
Yeah, it's really hot. It's really hot. We fight all the time in this border, and also in the Gaza border. But here it's hot. It's very hot. And as I say, we killed some terrorists in this night.
And are you worried that this is going to become a two-front conflict? Conflict in the south, conflict here in the north?
They need to afraid from us. We're not afraid. If they want to come from here, we shoot them here. If they come from Gaza, we shoot them there. We're not afraid.
Thank you very much for talking to us. Thank you. Now, as you can see, the young soldiers said that just in the last few hours, their fire has targeted Hezbollah and killed and eliminated some terrorists, according to him. Now, here's what we know. We know that there's a very real danger of this conflict that was meant to be Israel's retaliation against the Hamas, now becoming a two-front conflict where the Israelis are engaged both in the north and the south. We are just a couple of kilometers away from the border with Lebanon. Most communities here have been evacuated. Here you see now mostly soldiers of the kind that are arriving in busloads, and one such soldier confirming to us that there has been ferocious exchange of fire in which he says the Hezbollah, he doesn't specify how many Hezbollah terrorists have been eliminated. It will be very, very important for us at this point to see what role Iran planes, the Hezbollah based out of Lebanon, is said to be backed by Iran, and Iran has been backing both Hamas and Hezbollah in this conflict ever since the Hamas terror attack on Israel. We drive up to the very last point from where we can see Lebanon clearly. Most of the communities along the border, 28 to be precise, have been emptied out. But some of the men have stayed back to defend themselves and their homes. Now that there in the distance where you see the antenna is Lebanon, and we're standing right here if the camera comes back, and Yoni, who lives in this kibbutz, this area is actually named after his mother, is going to tell us where exactly we are. Go ahead.
Just want to emphasize, from the antennas, all this land over there, everything you see in the horizon.
From the left to the right along the horizon?
Including this village that we see just in front of us, this is Lebanon.
If the camera just pans a little bit to the right and you see houses right in front of us, if you see the houses right in front of us, you're saying that village is Lebanon?
This is Lebanon already. And this village over there,
on the right side,
is already Israel. It's sitting right on the border.
Right.
It's an Israeli village. So this situation explains the entire conflict that we have here.
Yeah. So would you say that we're, what, a couple of kilometers or less than, if you can just turn around so we can see you?
We are 2 miles from the Lebanese border right now.
Yeah.
And the village I showed you is a few 200, 300 meters from the Lebanese borders.
So just there, again, if you follow my finger, right there, you see little huts in the distance, that's Lebanon, and we're standing right here.
Yeah.
Now, Yoni, this has been heating up the last few days. What have you been seeing? What have you been hearing?
Well, you see, the problem is that it's not heating up during the last few days. It's ongoing process.
Yes.
So since 2007 till now, the Hezbollah, which is actually an army.
Yes. Has been firing?
No, he's not been firing. He's just preparing himself for a big combat, you can say.
A big assault?
Yeah, with having hundreds of thousands of rockets. Most of them are short range, like 20 to 40 kilometers range, which, as you understand, we're well inside this range.
Yeah.
And so is all
the homes here,
the northern part of the Galilee.
Yeah.
So it's a huge problem, and we're facing it now.
And what has been different in the last week? Because there's a sense of Hamas and Hezbollah having coordinated their plans almost.
Yeah, that's a major issue, because we don't understand. There is no logic, no reasonable explanation why Hamas just did this horrific assault in the southern border.
What is the kind of firing that is coming in from Hezbollah here at the north?
Right now, it's almost nothing. It's a precise long-range anti-armor missiles, which have the range of about 4 kilometers, more or less. So they firing it on in different areas.
And mostly, if you can show us here, where would the firing typically come from?
Well,
all directions of Lebanon?
If you see the village over there,
can we just walk a little ahead and then the camera? Yoni, I'm going to ask you to come ahead and he can show us from the back. Yeah.
A few kilometers from those antennas that we see.
Yes, right there.
There is an army base. There's a few army bases next to it and a few villages. So they fired a few times anti-missiles rockets, anti-armor rockets. Killed 1 or 2 soldiers and not a soldier even, it was a worker. And they injured a few. So this is one way they...
Can I ask you though, you live here, a lot of communities have been evacuated. This kibbutz has not been evacuated? It's so close to the border.
Well, you know, in Israel, when you decide to evacuate a settlement, it has a huge economic implications. Let's say you say all the villages from 0 to 2 kilometers from the border must be evacuated. It means that you must take care for them for housing and compensation for work and whatever. So it's not an easy decision to make. So until a day ago, that's what they said. 0 to 2 will be evacuated. We're not there yet, okay? But since we're a strong community and kibbutz it's a group It's like a family. So we already 2 weeks ago, a few days after the assault on near the Gaza Strip, we took out all the children and the education system way inside Israel.
Yeah.
And afterwards, we did the same with the elders, those who we know that if something happens, won't be able to evacuate by themselves.
So the elderly and the children have been moved.
Yeah. So everyone that is not necessary here, we made sure that you have a place, in a safe distance from here. Yeah. And what we have left here is mainly people to maintain all the communal infrastructure and whatever. And we, of course...
Are you expecting a major conflict here at this border?
Yeah.
You are?
We assume that things will get much worse. I assume. I mean, I can talk only for myself, but...
Do you think it will be?
I see no reason for Hamas to do what they did if they're not sure that
Hezbollah will back them up.
And what's more worrying, that we believe that they think that they will be able to create a major uprising of the West Bank and the Israel part of the Israelis Palestinians, because
so Yoni, who lives here, literally as the crow flies, like Lebanon is just there. I mean, just there. And Yoni, who lives here, is saying he's expecting a major conflict. The children and elderly have been evacuated. We know that Hezbollah has been firing anti-tank missiles into this area. And the big question now is, will there be, as we've all been asking, the world is wondering, a two-front conflict? And what role, a larger sort of role, would Iran play at that point? And what started off as Israel's retaliation against the Hamas, could it now become a larger war, pulling in more and more countries? That will certainly happen if the northern border of Israel with Lebanon, where we're standing right now, heats up in a more significant way. The one thing is clear is this: the Israel war against Hamas is expanding and escalating. It is now pulling other countries in. American warships in the last few hours have intercepted and shot missiles possibly headed for Israel. And American President Joe Biden has warned Iran that the United States will hold it accountable. What began as a regional conflict is poised to possibly become a global one. On ground in Israel with camera person Anoop, Barkha Dutt for Mojo Story.